Hi everybody. It's 8:30 in Los Angeles. It's 11:30 in Toronto. It's 4:30 in Lisbon where I am, and it's 10 o'clock in Mumbai. A huge welcome to all our panelists and our viewers. This is our closing talk today. I can't believe this is our last day, but I think we're going to have some good news. We're going to be back with some more talks, so this is not the last time. While audience trickles in, I'm just going to briefly introduce myself. I'm Dr. Samita Nandy. I'm from the Center for Media and Celebrity Studies. I hold a doctorate on celebrity culture. I'm also a trained actor from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in Los Angeles. So I'm really looking forward to an actor's talk with our fabulous actors today. I'm also a certified broadcast journalist, and I'm proudly one of the first members of the SAVE movement. The founder of the SAVE movement, Anita Krajnc, she's with us today, and she was one of the first board members of the Center for Media and Celebrity Studies. We're really excited to have our talk with very strong actors today in relation to celebrity culture and particularly celebrity activism for animal rights, human rights, and climate change. A huge thanks to the Animal Save Movement, the Health Save Movement, and the Climate Save Movement for supporting this talk. I'm going to let Mary Fantaschi introduce herself and introduce the panelists.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Fantaschi. This is Ayla. I have been a part of the SAVE movement since just after it started, I believe. So when it began on Pig Island in Toronto, which was a traffic island where you could stop, the transport trucks would stop and you could get access to the pigs. The SAVE movement actually started with Mr. Bean, a dog. Anita was walking Mr. Bean and she noticed the pigs, or rather Mr. Bean noticed the pigs and then Anita did, and made that sort of connection of, you know, I can't just be vegan, I need to be an activist. And so that's very relevant to what we're discussing today, being what does it mean to be a celebrity activist, and also how is celebrity culture relevant to the animal rights discussion. A little bit about me: I have a bachelor's in sociology, and I was partway through doing my master's, in which my thesis was looking at the intersections between disability rights and animal rights. And halfway through my master's, the genetic illness I have became more severe. The symptoms became more severe, so I had to take some time off. And in between, I've been working on my activism as much as I can. Now I would like to introduce our fabulous actors. We have Casey Llyod, Sadaa, and Nina Bergman. And I will get, let me see, Sadaa, I'm going to pick you first to introduce yourself. Thank you.
So, hi everyone. Good evening from India, Mumbai. And well, as an actor, I have had a very long and beautiful career. But as a vegan, I turned vegan in November 2017. And since then, the kind of change that has happened in me as a person, I just felt that it would be really unfair if I keep that to myself and not promote it to others who are still unaware. Because if it wasn't for activists like you all, wonderful people right here, I don't think I would have ever gone vegan. And it would be really, really unethical and unfair if I just kept all of the things that I learned after going vegan, all of the myths that I was associating veganism with, which was so untrue. I really, really wanted others to know about it. And that's why Earthlings happened. And here I am.
Thank you, Sadaa. Fabulous introduction. And I love what you said about you thinking it would be unfair to keep this to yourself because it was activists who first brought veganism and animal rights into your mind. But now I would like to pass it over to Casey Llyod, an actor in Hollywood. And if you could just introduce yourself, that would be fabulous.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me this morning. So when my wife and I went vegan, we went vegan together, and it was kind of a perfect storm for me because I was having a kind of a crisis of faith with my acting, and so I went back to college for environmental studies because I could easily see that combating climate change and species extinction is like the battle of our time, and I wanted to be able to explain to people, in scientific terms, what it all meant, and what how climate change was affecting us. And at the same time, I got the opportunity to coach other actors, and that rekindled my passion for acting. And at the same time, within environmental studies, I found that having the scientific conversation with people about climate change and species extinction didn't move the needle for a lot of folks. And so I realized I could actually be myself, continue with performing, and inspire others via my daily actions and my craft. And because we're emotional creatures, right? We're not logical beings. And so it was that actually kind of spurred my current activism as an actor. And I'm super excited to be here with you all today.
Thank you, Casey. I'll let Nina introduce herself. Nina, I think you're muted.
There you go. I'm Nina Bergman, and I live in Los Angeles. And I became a vegetarian when I was 7. I put 2 and 2 together. And then I didn't become a vegan until I started working undercover in Denmark, where I'm from. At a very young age, they took us to mink farms. It's a big thing in Denmark, especially right now. They're shutting them all down to kind of teach us about what was happening. So then when I started my career as an actor, I would the activism would kind of take over, and I would do undercover. I would go and I worked a lot with pit bulls. I would do anything I could get my hands on, and I realized that, if I really wanted to make an impact, I should focus on my career, get a little bit more of a voice, and try to do bigger things than saving one animal at the time. So that's what I've been trying to do, and spent the last few years writing a virtual book called Fierce and Vegan on how to become a vegan, because most people, because I do a lot of action stuff, think that vegans are weak, and the myth is still out there. So I wanted to come from that angle. I'm not protein deficient, and I can work 17 14-hour days on veggies. I'm still here. So that's where I'm at right now.
Thank you, Nina. I think it's so powerful to archive all your experiences in the form of a book. And whether you're writing a book or you're acting in films or television, it's all part of the larger media with which you're doing outreach. Speaking of media, I have a question for all the panelists. Do you feel that media, and in particular, celebrity, is relevant to the kind of activism that you're doing? Who would like to start first? I can repeat the question if you want.
I'll start that one off.
Okay.
It was the transition for me, really, of kind of getting away from college work and realizing that and for me, whenever I've been kind of influenced to make a change, when I look back, it's always kind of been those people in my immediate circle of either friends or celebrities, that have kind of been like, oh, maybe I should give that a try. Um, and so one of my kind of favorite guys is like Nina, you mentioned it, like, all vegans, we're not all just kind of like just limp noodly people. I love Nimai Delgado, who's this just bodybuilder, and he's one of the celebrities that's really inspired me in my kind of transition to veganism. And so, yeah, I think celebrity has a huge power and influence over what we kind of see in kind of the mainstream media and news that we're missing, so I think it's a really important thing.
Thank you, Casey. Sadaa, would you like to comment on this? How is mainstream media and the concept of celebrity relevant to the kind of activism that you do? I think you're muted.
So in general, I think people really look up to celebs. They follow everything, like you're under a scanner all the time. And it's really nice if a celeb or anybody who's vegan or who wants to go, plant-based, if the one person who has a huge fan base, and people are looking up to it, if that one word by that vegan is out in the public, it can influence a lot of minds instead of, like a commoner going vegan and then writing about it on their social media. So yes, that power is definitely there. And it's only when celebs or actors or anybody like Casey just mentioned about a bodybuilder whom he looked up to, he had a great influence on him. So anybody that you look up to is passing the word of compassion to you. It just makes a lot more, like you kind of connect to that cause or to that action faster. And of course, yes, the media is always after, celebs, and every single thing that they do or they take up it becomes like a big news. So yes, I think more and more celebs should opt for this kind of a lifestyle. It's only if they do and they speak up, not just you follow it, but you speak up for it. You speak up for it not just in social media, but in mainstream media. That's when it's going to create a bigger impact.
Yeah, I think it's a responsibility of every role model, and sometimes fans shift their ethical responsibility to role models, but I feel like it's a responsibility that they should share and not just follow. And I truly believe in celebrity activism is part of the larger media activism. I know Anita is very supportive of celebrity activism too. Anita, would you like to speak a few words on why celebrity activism is so important?
Yeah, I think of the Oprah effect. For years, journalists have reported on the problem of AIDS in Africa, but then when Oprah went to Africa, suddenly people paid attention, saying, oh, this is a very serious problem. A more recent example is the Greta effect. Greta is an ethical and environmental vegan. She doesn't fly airplanes, and she is, careful with respect to consumption. She tries not to consume new things. And there was already a movement in Sweden called flight shame. And so when she took on that personal commitment not to fly, that movement became more popular, and it actually changed the number of people that were flying in Sweden, Germany, and other countries. And I think what we're trying to do with our campaign, Watch Dominion, Don't Look Away, is meat shame or dairy and egg shame. And we're trying to popularize eating vegan. And all three celebrities on this call have performed a reaction video that has led to a lot of other people, watching Dominion. So we're very grateful for that. And they're all on our Animal Safe Movement YouTube channel.
Thank you, Anita. Nina, what would you say? Is the mainstream media and the concept of celebrity relevant to the kind of activism you do?
I think very. I have a lot of young girls. I try to interact a lot with my fans for that particular reason. And I try to, I think the beautiful thing is that every person is doing it differently. As I said, I play a lot of those action kind of like, badass hardcore for a lot of like meat eating kind of people. So I have to be a little more gentle when I would post a lot of my undercover footage and a lot of graphic stuff. People would get turned off I would lose fans. So for me, it's been like a journey of trying to find, how can I be of the best service? How can I get people to watch the Dominion, trick them into watching it without actually showing it up front? It's been like a very fine balance of not turning people away. But I do believe anyone who has a little bit of a platform, it's our responsibility and it's our duty, because you have to be the voice for the voiceless. When with other activisms, they're like, well, it's attraction, not promotion, where I'm like, these animals don't have a voice, so we have to speak. So I think it's a beautiful way to connect with fans and get the message out. And I think it's really important.
Yeah, and you're also inspiring other vegans and non-vegans to take up this challenge. It's a pretty hard thing to do, to watch Dominion. I mean, just to learn about the film and make your way through the film, even if it's like 5 to 10 minutes. It's a hard thing to do. I know Mary has a lot of questions on acting skills and how being an actor helps you to be an activist and give a voice. Mary, do you want to ask a couple of questions? Mary, are you here, or I think she's going to come back. Well, I'll ask. Do you believe that the art of acting has encouraged you to become an activist? I'm asking this to all the actors right now, and then I would love Anita to comment on this. Who would like to go first? I think we have Cassie and Nina right now. Cassie, do you want to go first? How has acting encouraged you to become an activist, or has it helped you to become an effective activist?
Yeah, I mean, as an actor, in order to, in order to give our best performances, we have to delve into to our best selves and really empathize with everyone around us. And so I think being able to explore that empathy and for others really has helped me kind of have the conversation with others, because I was, I've not been vegan my entire life, so I understand the kind of the misconceptions that are around the animal industry and the meat industry and the kind of product industry, and so just having empathy and trying to meet people where they're at, and those skills that come with acting absolutely translate to how I go about my activism, my conversations, what I do and decide not to post. And so, yeah, those skills as an actor definitely have a fantastic translation to my activism, I think.
Yeah, it really helps with developing empathy and also like how you give a voice, in the public sphere, understanding like who you're communicating with. I know like how scene study and character development and voice training all really helps you to understand like where the other person is coming from and who you're actually advocating for. Sada, would you like to talk about your acting and how being an actor has helped you to become an effective activist? Think you're muted.
Unfortunately, in my case, I can only act in front of camera. So when I'm off camera, I'm brutally honest. When I write about animal exploitation, I'm as honest and as transparent as I can be. I think there's no time to sugarcoat things. There's no time for us to. Yes, of course, yes. There are a lot of people who are not aware of what goes behind the glass walls, as you call it, or behind the dairy. They are not aware yet. That is there, but I like to put it the way it is, with and I'm sarcastic, I'm brutal. So I don't think when it comes to activism, I really apply any of the things I've learned during my acting career. I just because this one cause is so close to my heart. It just comes like literally, it just comes from within, and what I feel when I see a particular video, that is what I write about. That is what I speak about. So it's absolutely honest.
Yeah, and it speaks to your authenticity,
Yes,
which,
absolutely. The moment I
yes,
feel like, see, like I said before, yes, people are not aware yet. Majority of them are not aware yet. We are trying to create awareness. That's right. But then we are not here to please humans. Let's be very clear. We are here for the animals, and that is what I feel. I feel we are running out of time. There is hardly any time for us to please people and make it very put it in a very nicer way. No, this is what the reality is. If you can't accept the reality the way it is, please do not participate in it. That is what I'm very, very clear about.
Nina, what would you say?
I think, yeah, there's definitely a direct parallel to acting activism and acting, because at least for me, I'm an empathist, so I feel everything that other people feel, and I'm very good at putting myself into other people's shoes. That's what you get paid to do. And I just finished one where I spent almost 3 months, a World War II movie. I had to shave my head, and I was studying about it. And, there's a direct parallel on what's going on in the concentration camps and what's going on in the slaughterhouses. Direct parallel, like exactly what there were, So, for me, what I thought about when doing this movie, it was very easy to put myself there because I've already seen it, in the slaughterhouses. So it was like a very, not funny parallel, but it was very easy for me to play this part. And then the beautiful thing is when it comes out, I mean, it's time to do publicity, we can use the platform to talk about the parallel because, most people don't know how bad it is. Most people don't want to know how bad it is, because the Holocaust, to me, is still happening right now as we speak. It did not stop at all. It just keeps growing, with the meat consumption. So, yeah, sometimes I think the further we get in our career, the more power we have to pick projects where we can use our voice and find things where we can tie in a way to shine some lights and shine some lights on what's really going on in the slaughterhouse and the meat industry and dairy industry especially.
Yeah, and if you ever get a chance to be a producer, I think you'll have a lot of creative control and you'll get to write about, vegan characters as well, which is underrepresented.
Yeah.
Anita, what would you say? Do you have any comments on why actors can be effective activists?
Yes. If I could broaden it to authors, artists.
Yes.
The biggest influences on the animal save movement is Leo Tolstoy. And he was an ethical vegetarian for the last 30 years of his life. He died in 1910. And he was very impressed by some of the British animal rights philosophers, such as Henry Salt. And there was a book that he wrote a preface to, and he called it The First Step. And he said the first step to being a good person was not killing animals. And as part of his research as a great realist writer, he went to bear witness at a slaughterhouse near where he lived in Tula, Russia, in 1891. And then he used his powers of observation as a realist writer to empathize with what the animals were going through as they approached the slaughterhouse in carts, as they were forced into the slaughter chambers, as they were bludgeoned and their throats were slit and their legs were cut off while they were fully alive and conscious, and as they were skinned alive. And these kinds of things still happen today. And he, as a great writer, he described it, and it was known as the Bible of the animal rights movement in various countries, in Britain and Europe and Asia and so forth. So it was very influential. So I think artists, celebrities can play a huge role in creating artworks. And in this particular case, Sadaa created with Harsha created and Apajita and others created an incredible promo video that for Watch Dominion, and it has over 70,000 views on our Animal Save Movement channel already, and it's doing very well. We're using it as an ad and targeting audiences in India, and it's performing really well. So it just shows you the power of artistry when combined with ethics.
Yes, and I spoke a little bit about art last time. There's so much power in visual storytelling or any kind of art because it allows you to, break boundaries, to break the categories that allow us to discriminate, and that's what we're up against. I know Mary has a lot of questions when it comes to acting in particular. I could go on and on, but I'm going to ask Mary to raise some questions.
Sure. Thank you, Samita. First, I just want to take a second to apologize for my internet issues. I live in a small town. But moving on from that, I think there's really something to be said about actors and empathy. And that's what I'm particularly interested in, because my thesis was basically about how do we kind of translate empathy from one movement, from a social justice human movement, to one that also includes non-human animals. And for me, with disability, it was obvious. You know, people who look different because of their disability are treated like non-human animals, because non-human animals in most societies are in a hierarchical society at the bottom. And so when you take a human and you compare them to an animal, it's an insult. And that was what I really wanted to focus on, is why is that an insult and how do we change that? And I know, Nina, you mentioned the comparison to the Holocaust, which I think a lot of people find very shocking and confronting. But what we're talking about really is discrimination. And discrimination, in my studies, it's the same across, you know, the board, whether it's animals or a person with a disability. But what I wanted to ask you all is, do you think it is important to make these sort of connections, the connections between non-human animal oppression and human animal oppression, specifically in regards to feminism? Do you think that this is relevant to your celebrity activism? So to shorten my question, do you think it is important to include these sort of links, these intersections in your celebrity activism? And if you do think it's important, how would you do that? I will ask Casey if you want. I know it's a big question, but if you would mind stepping in, that would be fabulous.
Sure. No, it is a big question. I think whenever you look at, most of us probably have pets or have family with pets and when you look at animals interact and you look at the bigger picture, like, you see everyone, all these creatures, doesn't matter what it is, they have compassion for one another. They have the same love that we all have as humans for each other. They all experience pain. They all experience excitement. I've been to several farms, and the interactions that you see with pigs and cows, like, we're all sharing the same emotions. And so when you take that out to a larger scale and just look of, like, why do we need to consider ourselves like we're not a superior species, because we're all having the same experience. And so if you take a baby calf away from a mother, of course there's gonna be that loss. Like, you see it. It's plain as day. And to try to separate that out and parse that out of, like, this is okay, but this isn't. And in the broader picture, with kind of like where we're at with the Time Is Up movement and feminism, it's like, it's all just, how can we all just realize that we're all sharing the same experience of the same emotions, and to categorize certain people as higher or other, or animals certain, like, there's no difference. And so that is the reason why, I think the biggest thing you can do to help the planet and help species extinction and to make a statement is to do the simple thing of changing what you put on your plate 3 times a day.
So really and truly what we're talking about is intersectionality at this point, and you see the commonality between different animals. Like, there's no difference between a companion animal and a farmed animal, which we're really supporting here. Nina, what would you say?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's said. I mean, there is no difference. What I tend to use to explain to people is the pets, when they say they love animals, and I always say, you don't love animals, you love your pets, because that is an easy one to understand. But I try to be very careful. I grew up with 2 moms. I'm a feminist, I hate racism, but I try to just focus on the animals, because your sexual preference and whatever, it's very, very important that we're free, but we have a voice and animals don't have a voice. So that's the difference. Whatever it is, we have a voice, we can speak, we can do things, we can, go on the internet, we can, and I support it all, but there is a difference. The animals don't have a voice. So that's why I think it's very important to show that there is a parallel and we're all the same, but at the same time, I sometimes get a little concerned when activists start like blending politics and bringing in other things where I'm like, that's not what it's about. You know, it doesn't matter what your religion is, what your whatever, it's about the animals. You know, so that's where I sometimes get a little like, oh, let's like bring it back to why we're here. You know, we're here to be the voice for the animals. So that's kind of where I stand on it. Yeah.
Thank you, Nina. That's a good point. And you know, when I was doing my thesis and thinking about the links between disability and animals, what actually happened was I started out looking at feminism and disability rights. And then I kind of went, I was vegan, and I kind of went, how can I bring the animals into this? You know, how can I bring them into my thesis? How can I get people? Because there's a really large community of people who are for various human rights and for social justice, but they exclude animals. And I wanted to focus on the why and how do we break that down. I think Time's Up is a fabulous example of just how much celebrity activism can have an impact. And so another question I had is, and I think I'm going to know all your answers already, but just to reiterate your answers, I guess, do you think that people have a platform, and this can be any sort of platform, whether you're a social media star or a Bollywood actor, do you think you have a responsibility to speak up for the animals? So do you think you have a responsibility not just to be vegan, but to be an activist, a celebrity activist, which is what we're discussing? Sadaa, would you like to give a response to this?
Yes, of course. Like I said earlier, a silent vegan is of no use to this whole movement. If you keep this to yourself, you're doing your fellow humans no good, and of course the animals are at a huge loss. I always feel again and again that we have very little time, and the more that we use in our life span, the little time that we have, if we use it only and only for speaking up for the animals, I think this would be a life best lived. And like I said before, common people, their voices will not reach the masses. As celebs, our voices will be heard even more as somebody who people look up to. So it's a moral responsibility, it's a social responsibility that we own towards not just fellow humans, but of course for the animals. And we shouldn't ever waste a single moment doing that.
Thank you, Sadaa. That was a great answer. I knew you would have a great answer. I would also like to ask you, do you find that there's a difference as a Bollywood actor when it comes to your vegan activism as opposed to maybe what you have seen some of your fellow North American actors do? Thank you.
I think India is far behind when it comes to the vegan movement. The way vegan activism is covered in Western media, we are still far behind. Because in India, I think also it is a lot of political pressure when it comes to industries that deal with dairy, leather, and meat industry, animal agriculture in general that I'm talking about. India is also the second largest exporter of beef and leather. So though we consider our nation as a nation that talks about ahimsa, a major population of our country believes in ahimsa, which is a principle laid by Mahatma Gandhi ji. In spite of all that, the kind of cruelty that happens in India, and it happens like in the West, you see the trucks that are closed, that carry pigs. Here, the trucks are open, that carry chicken and all of that. It's all out there in your, like today I was traveling to another place from from the suburbs, and I literally saw 3 trucks carrying, chicken at regular intervals. And so it's extremely normalized. It's something like your previous question also, which dealt with humans don't believe in extending their empathy towards animals. Animals are commodified. They are considered as a species which is meant to be exploited. And I think for us Indians, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort to bring about the change, because also a lot of population in India is below like how we term it as middle class, and people who don't have access so much to the social media and all of this. So for them, they don't understand veganism. Like my staff, like the staff that works in the cafe, when they came to us, they did not know anything about veganism. For them, the whole concept of us not using dairy and using substitutes, of not using meat but substitutes, of not using egg but substitutes, it was something that they had never heard of, in spite of working in like probably good 5-star hotels. It's something that they're learning now. So you can imagine, like, still there is so much illiteracy in this aspect of so it's going to take a lot of time, and more celebs coming into this movement, especially in India, is going to help it a lot. And I really, really detest, like, there are a lot of doctors in India who are speaking up against veganism. They call it a fad, they call it a trend, they call it a Western culture, and that just irritates me to the core. Like, they don't understand what veganism is all about, why we are doing what we are doing. It's just termed as a Western concept and something that will just pass on, which is sad, but true.
I think there's a lot of
Thank
room
you.
for education, and
Yes.
just to sort of focus on some progress. I think it was like last night or this morning, I can't remember, but a news came out, and I'm still very curious about this news. Sadaa, you may have come across it as well. If there's animal cruelty, there is 75,000 rupees that's going to be charged to the abuser. Do you know if it's applicable to all animals or certain animals?
So the bill is being proposed. It's not passed yet in the parliament. So we are
Okay.
hoping, fingers crossed, that because the laws that we were, like, the penalties and the punishment for cruelty was from the bill that was passed in 1960. So we were still, and it was only 50 rupees, and you can bail for animal cruelty. Again, this the cruelty to animals that they talk about is not, again, from animal agriculture or animals that are used for human purposes, be it entertainment, zoos, consumption, horse riding. All of that is, I don't think, inclusive. It only comes to a certain, like, if you happen to kill a dog, like, there have been instances where people have thrown dogs from a 5-story buildings, or they have driven purposely over a dog, or things like those. And yeah, so these are the ones that come under animal cruelty, unfortunately, not the ones that are killed and consumed.
Well, I hope we can take this further and, open this up for more education. Just use this as a, tool to educate more. Mary, did you want to ask Cassie and Nina and Anita about the difference between Bollywood activism and Hollywood activism when it comes to speaking up for the animals?
Yes, for sure. I would like to know if there are any specific challenges being a vegan activist in Hollywood, or yeah, especially Hollywood, because I know that can be a pretty harsh industry, but there is a lot of plant-based media going around. So I could see it both ways. Nina, would you like to speak to this? Any challenges being, yeah, thank you.
Hollywood to me is amazing because it's an artist, as we spoke about earlier, most artists are, they are good at putting themselves into other shoes, and they're, feel more empathy than most people. And they're, I don't know, they're, for some reason, they're a little more open. Where I live in West Hollywood. I mean, there's vegan restaurants everywhere. But when I go to the Midwest, or when I go to smaller towns in America and they're like, what's a vegan, and they'll bring me gifts or whatever. I sing in a rock band too. So sometimes they'll come at the shows and they'll bring me, mac and cheese, and they would like, they don't know what veganism is. And what I'm learning is, I'm from Europe and some of my favorite people are Americans. And it's just, I think we're uneducated. I think it all comes down to education, as is said, Paul McCartney said, if the slaughterhouses were made out of glass, people wouldn't eat meat. I think it's education. That's what it's all boils down to. And and people who are drawn to Hollywood seems to be maybe a little more educated in that sense. So for me, being vegan, everyone knows what a vegan is, you know, so it's pretty easy. Everywhere I can go to any restaurant, I can go to a steakhouse and I can ask for a vegan option and they'll throw a veggie burger on top of my salad or something. So that, to me, that's why I live in a big city too, you know, because I feel understood, you know, because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it feels, you know, hard to be a vegan and fighting that fight, you know, and so it's not nice to be surrounded by fellows who think alike.
Thank you. That was a great answer. And I love that you brought up the Paul McCartney quote. And I know that that's very close to Anita's heart as well, because it is tied to the Save movement's mantra is the wrong word, but the point is to bear witness and to get, like Tolstoy said, as close to the one who suffers and do everything you can to help. So I wonder if, Anita, you would like to speak to bearing witness and how, I guess, you take bearing witness further than just the people at the vigils. How do you make the masses bear witness? Thanks.
I think even just posting a picture of giving the pigs water and you actually don't look in the truck, you know, it was enough of a reaction. You know, I'm like, even if I affect 10 people, you know, it's 10 people, you know, I don't think, you know, there's no number that's too small, you know. So I think it's about, you know, as you were talking about yourself, it's about tying it in wherever we can, you know, talk about it wherever we can. And, you know, I went on a date and I brought my date to the vigil. You know what I mean? I was like, hey, you want to do this thing? You know, and I was like, we'll see what you're made of. You know, it's like, we just do what we can. And every, you know, as I say always, veganism is not a thing, it's a lifestyle. It's not about the food it's about everything that we do. You know, we can talk about in anything that we do, you know, just wearing the shirt, you know, the vigil shirts all the time. I wear them at Starbucks and people are like, oh, that's a cute pig. And I was like, actually, you know, I go every Sunday and I give them water and, you know what I mean? It's a great conversation piece. And I think it's really important that we bring veganism into everything that we do, you know, because that, you know, that it's just, it's again, it's a lifestyle and it's just a practice. You know, I don't think about it anymore. I just bring it into every conversation automatically now. So yeah.
That's amazing. I love the story of you bringing your date to a vigil. That's just great. Anita, I know this is something that you are very passionate about. So would you like to speak to the idea of bearing witness and bringing the concept of bearing witness to the masses and what the Save movement is doing to do that? Thank you.
Yeah, so first of all, Nina, that's the best date you could have. One of my favorite movies is The Mistress of Spices. Have any of you seen it? It's a Bollywood-Hollywood mix movie based in San Francisco. And she goes on a date and she brings her boyfriend to visit someone at the hospital. I just thought, like, that's so much, you know, you're thinking about community and building community, not just about yourself. And so, yeah, that is the perfect date. A lot of people spend their birthdays at vigils. They spend their holidays at vigils. You know, Martin Luther King, when during the Civil Rights Movement, said, "Take time off school, take time off work, come to the marches." And I feel the same way about bearing witness. The Animal Save movement, since the beginning, said that everyone has an ethical duty to bear witness, which means don't turn away when someone's suffering, but come close, as close as you can, and try to help. In Tolstoy's words. So there are different ways of bearing witness, and so some of the celebrities that have gone to the LA Animal Save, Animal Alliance Network vigils in LA, including Nina, Casey. I'm not sure if you've been there yet, but I'm sure you'll go soon. They include Rooney Mara, and she also did an undercover investigation with Animal Equality at a pig and a chicken factory farm. So that's another way of bearing witness and helping an organization. Just by her doing the undercover investigation, gave it a lot of media attention. And I just wanted to focus on like a couple of other roles that celebrities can play, like directly participating in social movements, like bearing witness, doing undercover investigations, creating artworks themselves, writing op-eds. Ryan Gosling wrote an op-ed about pigs in gestation crates. You could write a cookbook, amplifying the voices of activists and movements on social media. So the Black Lives Matter movement, their message was amplified on a number of accounts where big celebrities would hand over their accounts to Black Lives Matter activists. And I know you've all used your social media accounts to do this, so thank you so much, all of you. Casey, Nina, and Sadaa have used your Instagram to promote the Don't Look Away, Watch Dominion. You can undertake projects such as opening a vegan restaurant like Sadaa. You could other things you could do is fundraise for social movements. Think of Live Aid in the 1984, it raised tens of millions of dollars for famine victims in the Sudan and Ethiopia. You can engage in diplomacy. Think of Bob Geldof, Bono. They engage, they meet with, think of Greta, meeting with politicians and putting these issues on the agenda. You can form new groups like Rock the Vote to get out the vote. So I just wanted to say that there are so many different things celebrities can do to use their fame for a good cause.
So really and truly what you're talking about is using political art, and any artist could do that. I know Anita always advocated for including both Bollywood and Hollywood in celebrity activism for animals. Anita, do you want to speak on that? Why is this inclusion important for this movement?
I think, when you look at someone like Tolstoy, he was someone who was interested in world art. And one of his biggest disciples was Gandhi, who took bearing witness further by actually implementing, non-cooperation with evil and civil disobedience. And he's the great teacher for so many, whether it's Martin Luther King or Cesar Chavez. And I think we really need to have a global perspective. And the East offers so much with respect to religion and philosophy and activism. And Bollywood is bigger than Hollywood. And I just think there's a lot that we can learn from each other and from all cultures, whether it's, Victor Jara was a protest singer in Chile, or African filmmakers, or I just think the animal safe movement has always been tried to be inclusive and representative, because not only is it the right thing to do, but it is more effective. We're also intersectional, and I think when you look at it's a lot of great art. There's Woody Guthrie's song, "This Land Is Your Land." And that was sung recently at the Biden inauguration by J-Lo. And I'm just thinking, like, a lot of the things that we do, because all of us, we care about animals, but we also, Nina, you said your own history, you're raised by two moms. Like and I'm sure all of us are feminists. And I just think, like, it's very important to connect the issues and be true allies to these different movements, because it's the right thing to do, and also it is very strategic. My sister was a feminist before she was a vegan, and she read one line from Carolyn Merchant's, I can't forget her name right now, but a book called The Sexual Politics of Meat, Carol Adams' book, and it said that the female reproductive system was exploited in factory farms. That line, or in animal agriculture, that line made her go vegan as a feminist. So I just think. Well, you yourself said education is the number one thing. Ignorance is our biggest barrier, and so let's use the fact that we care about all these different issues, whether it's anti-racism, feminism, human rights, social justice, anti-poverty, environmentalism. I think, and someone like Tolstoy was known for actually working on all those issues, and the more benefits we can see in all these issues, the more people we can draw in.
Thank you, Anita. We have just over 10 minutes, I would say, and I want to hear from Cassie, Nina, and Sadaa, some of your closing words on being inclusive and intersectional, especially when it comes to Bollywood and Hollywood activism for the animals. Who would like to go first? Cassie?
Oh yeah, I'll go. No, it's just, we need to reach as many people as possible, as quickly as possible with the vegan movement, and all of these issues, right? We're in a very dire time with our planet right now, as far as where we're going as a species, where the just extinctionism due to clear cutting the Amazon for cattle is just complete lunacy. And so yeah, we need to get to everybody as possible, as quickly as possible, in as many voices and ways as possible, because someone said it here already, like, no one person is too small, because if you influence that person hopefully is going to go in on influence 10 more people and 10 more people. So it's just like an avalanche of the progressive movement of just treating these animals better, saving them, and getting them off of our plates. So yeah, we just need to reach as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, for sure.
Thank you, Casey. Nina, what would you say?
Yeah, in relation to Hollywood too, I think even with work, it's very important to speak up. Like, I'm one of those actors who demand vegan food, who will not wear leather, who will not wear fur. Every wardrobe stylist hate me. I am very tricky with what I put on my face. I am one of those annoying, vegans, but because so many of us have spoken up, again, in Hollywood, it's every set I'm on now, they always have a vegan option because we've spoken up. So I think it's just so important we keep speaking up. Like, if I have to make out with someone on set, I demand if they eat meat, they have to brush their teeth. I mean, I'm very verbal, and I think, sometimes I feel bullied, because sometimes I'm like one or two vegans and the other one is a little more quiet. And I think, again, it's just so important. It's about the bigger picture. It's not about me and my needs and my feelings. And, it's about that John Monson taught me from, who did Earthlings. He goes, Nina, it's very selfish when you start getting hurt and getting sad. And he's like, that's actually selfish because it's not about you. It's about the animals. So when you're on set, he's like, think about it. Speak up. It's for the animals. It's okay if everyone hates you. You're leading the way. So I think in particular for Hollywood, it's really important that we speak up. And the more people that do it, the less we're going to get bullied all the time and laughed up and oh my God, there's another vegan, you know what I mean? So I think it's really important that we stay strong and speak up whenever we work and whenever we can, and interviews, and, as I said before, in all of our affairs, it's a lifestyle. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just wonderful to rise together. So that's why it's so important to have like both the East and the West coming together with this. It's just so much fun. Sadaa, would you like to say some closing words before we go?
So beautifully about, how to take this movement further. And I found, like, when Earthlings happened, it wasn't planned. I was vegan just for a year and a half, and the kind of change I saw within myself, not just superficially. Of course, my skin cleared up, my gut improved, my health improved, which was not the intention behind going vegan. The intention was only I just wanted to be an ethical vegan because I saw the suffering that was happening in dairy industry, which I was totally unaware about. But like I said, I saw. You change as a person. You're not shallow anymore. You start thinking like, for example, now veganism is not my lifestyle. It's become my life. That's the only agenda I have in my life, is to talk about veganism to every person. And I found no better platform than opening a cafe, because through food, people can stop giving, stop wearing leather, fur, stop using products that are tested on animals. All of that is possible. But when it comes to food, when it comes to that 5 minutes of palate pleasure, people think twice. They just don't want to give up on, things that they have been eating for so many years. They've been conditioned to eat, and they've normalized that. If, like how Nina earlier said, like protein deficiency, calcium deficiency, all of that, it's so much imbibed in us that we cannot survive on a plant-based diet. I really, really felt like there wouldn't be a better form of activism than, give people a chance to explore this food. Let them come and see that it's equally delicious. It's lighter. It's so much more better. Even our junk food is healthier, is what I always say, because it has no unnecessary cholesterol and antibiotics, pus, blood, all of that. So, like, this has become my life now. And it's dedicated to all the Earthlings out there that are suffering every single minute. Yeah. I just, like, one mind I change a day, I feel I've achieved so much for the animals, and that's what I want to keep doing for the rest of my life.
Thank you so much, Sada. And
Thank you so
as an
much.
actor, all of you have shown the will to act. That's what you have in common, like as an actor, as an activist, you have the will to act. And that's what you're inspiring others to do, to be a role model and to just, be on board. I want to thank all panelists for being with us. Time has flown. I also want to thank all viewers, and we had some wonderful comments here. I'm just going to read the last comment that we have here from Eva. Eva is my angel real estate agent and angel for my entire life, and she says that her neighbor and her daughter are watching Dominion today. So I'm sure Eva is a role model for the neighbor as well, and a role model for many of us. And just wanted to continue this conversation. Mary, did you want to talk about what to look forward to next?
Yes, I'll just quickly speak on what Samita and I have planned for the future. We want to keep this conversation going because we really believe in conversation as activism. And what Anita said about how Black Lives Matter, the movement, one thing that was really crucial was other people lifting up the voices of people of color. And Samita and I would like to lift up the voices of marginalized vegans so they can reach out to their communities. And we think the best way to do that is to put them out for the world to listen to on, a live stream in an interview kind of format. So even though we don't have a panel planned for next week, this is the bigger picture plan, I guess we can say. So anyone who would like to follow Samita and I, you can go to the Center for Celebrity and Media Studies Facebook page, as well as the Instagram and Twitter. And that's where you can follow this project. I just want to thank the guests, amazing panelists once again, Casey, Nina, Sadaa, and Anita. Your answers were incredible and insightful and powerful and definitely motivating. So thank you very much. And that's the panel. That's the last panel.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.